Hello, peak performers. Hope everyone is having a great day so far. I am really excited about today's live. In fact, this is one of the first times that I have gone live with pretty much no script, no bullet points. So we'll see how this goes. I don't really need a script or bullet points because I'm here today to just share my story, honestly, and give you guys a little bit of background on how I started my business 14 years ago and why I decided to rebrand this year in 2021. If you are joining me live, I'd love for you to drop a comment so I can see who's here. And absolutely, if you have any questions for me, about anything really, anything about the business, anything about the rebrand. I'm an open book. Hey, Patrick. So would be happy to give you guys some perspective. Later in the month, I am going to actually do a live on some of the key learnings that I've had from a productivity perspective on going through a rebrand. So if any of you are business owners and have been considering doing a refresh, or a rebrand and you're nervous about how it will impact not only your business, but like your personal time and your investment of money and energy, I would be happy to share my experience and give you, the lessons I've learned to kind of help you through it. So, hey, Steph, glad to see you guys here. So for those of you, I'm going to condense this, but I love stories. I love hearing how people started a business or how they got into an industry. There's always just some really cool details that don't get told in a 30-second elevator pitch or in a bio. So I'm going to give you guys the background 14 long years ago of how I came to start Turn Leaf Organizing, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about why I decided to do a rebrand and what that really means for my clients, what that means for those of you here in this community, and kind of what that means opportunity wise for me in the future. So drop any questions that you have, and I will keep an eye on the comments. So for those of you that don't really know the origin story, in 2007, I was living in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and my husband and I had been married for almost 2 years. I was working in at that point, I was working for a private practice in speech language pathology. So that's my background. I have a master's in speech language therapy. I moved from Ohio, where I grew up, went to school at Miami and Oxford, so less than an hour away. Went to graduate school here in Cincinnati. And in 2002, when I graduated from University of Cincinnati, hey, Judy, I decided to do something kind of crazy for me and unexpected for my family. I moved 500 miles away. I had wanted to go to UNC Chapel Hill for graduate school, and I was waitlisted, and then I got in last minute. I had already made all my plans for going to graduate school at University of Cincinnati. It was going to take a lot of student loans to go to Chapel Hill, and so when I started graduate school in Cincinnati, I said, in 2 years, I'm moving to North Carolina. I'm just doing it. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know anybody there, but that's what I'm doing. And that's what I did. So anyways, that's already, I'm diverting a rabbit trail. So I was in Chapel Hill. I had lived there for 5 years. I had met my husband in the first like 2 months that I'd moved there. We'd been married 2 years. And I was working for a private practice, and I was running the practice. I had about 80% of the responsibility, but it wasn't my business. And I was actually getting pretty frustrated with the industry of being in healthcare. We were being told by insurance what we could and couldn't do to serve our clients. And I was realizing that this was actually not the path I wanted to be on for the rest of my life. And so had to do some soul searching. And, I think all of us, when we graduate college, we think we know exactly what we want to do for the rest of our lives. And I had envisioned that I would be a school speech language therapist for the next 25 years. That vision got shattered 2 years in when I was extremely unhappy in the public school system where I worked. So I jumped over to private practice, and I had done some interns in private practice. So I knew that I would still get to work with children. And I was actually excited because I would get to work with families. So that was the space that I was working in. And I really did enjoy working for a private practice, the personal connection with families. I got to work with kids almost always one to one instead of in groups. But the industry itself was really disappointing me. And so I had to start figuring out, okay, if this isn't making me happy, if the school wasn't making me happy, and now I'm here in this private practice and I'm not super happy, like what what do I need to do? So kind of long story short, I started looking at, well, what else am I good at? What else interests me? What do I enjoy doing? And I believe the universe put in front of me a tiny little blurb in a magazine about the National Association of Professional Organizers. This is back when like Martha Stewart Living was really popular and Real Simple magazine and organization was like becoming this really popular, all the beautiful photos of kitchens and it just was like the buzzword. So I couldn't believe there was an industry that people could get paid to organize other people. And I immediately looked up this organization and found out that the North Carolina chapter met less than a mile from where I lived. So, like, the stars were aligning. So, the North Carolina chapter of NAPO at the time had a FAQ session. Well, literally, I have like very vivid memories of some of parts of this journey. I remember sitting at South Point Mall, for those of you that know Durham, at an outside area outside of Barnes and Noble. And there were two or three women who were offering the FAQ. And I was surrounded by other women who were interested in running a business. And I just remember, I can feel it in my stomach right now, the excitement that I had sitting there thinking about being a business owner, doing something I loved, and seeing all these other women around me that seemed very supportive. And it was like this empowerment moment of like, I could do this. This is a path. So being young, married with no children, I thought, why not? I'll just start a little side hustle, right? We didn't call them then in 2007, but I'm going to start this business and just see what happens. And so that was the beginning of Turn Leaf Organizing. So my good friend Lori Bruns, I'm going to tag you, Lori, so you can hear this story. She and I started our businesses at pretty much the same time. She was a teacher. I was a speech language therapist. And we both kind of had this, bold idea that we can just start a business, right? Which, thank goodness, that was out of character for me. I used to be a very much like, what's the safest path? So another vivid memory, I can remember sitting on my bed with a notebook, writing down all the words and possible names that I could choose for this business. I really think naming my business at that point in time felt equally as important as like when I had to name my children. I agonized over it. I remember I was going to call my business Life Organized, and then I found out that was Lori's tagline, so I had to scratch that. And I remember coming up with Turning Leaf, and then that was a wine, so I didn't want to get in trouble using the name of a winery. And then I remember settling on Turn Leaf Organizing. And I chose that name because I really believed that when somebody wants to adopt a more organized way of life, it's turning over a new leaf, right? It's committing to a different way of life. So that was where that name came from. So in 2007, I established my business in the state of North Carolina as Turnleaf Organizing LLC. And really for a couple years, 3 years, 3.5 years, It was very much a side hustle. I worked on the weekends, I worked in the evenings. We didn't have children, so I could kind of fill those hours. Those of you that know me, I don't like to sit down and do nothing. So I loved having all of my minutes filled. And pretty quickly, I was enjoying all of the time I was spending on my business. And I was just kind of doing what I had to, going through the motions, working in the speech and language private practice. And so when I started my business, my vision was that I would be helping people get organized. That was kind of my simple mission and vision. So pretty quickly, I had a couple of realizations in those first couple of years. I thought I was doing something extremely different and unrelated to my training and my career of speech language therapy. And I very quickly realized that there was a direct connection because I understood how the brain worked. I studied the brain extensively in my schooling. And as I was working with homeowners, as I was working with families, as I was working with business owners, I began to see that it was never about the stuff. It was never just, I have clutter. It was about how people were making decisions or not making decisions. It was about emotional connection people had to things. It was about not being able to judge time, how much time things would take, how much time we have in a day, how many responsibilities one person can manage. It was about problem solving. It was all these cognitive skills that I actually knew a whole lot about. And so I quickly began to see that, yes, this was my side hustle. And yes, this was something I just loved to do, but I actually was trained for it. And I didn't know it until I started doing the work. I also, a couple of other realizations that I had in those first couple of years as I was operating as a professional organizer, owning Turn Leaf Organizing. I realized that I actually knew more about running a business than I'd given myself credit. So I very much, when you think about like, how do you see yourself? Back then, I saw myself as an educator. I was actually very intimidated by business owners and business professionals because I had this idea that I just know the education world. I don't know the business world. I've never worked at a corporation. I never wore suits to work and had business meetings. But I had spent many years helping to run a private practice. So, very quickly realized I know a lot about running a business. It wasn't my business, and I never got to make the final decision, but I saw how a business operated. I saw what happened when a business owner didn't make decisions or when a business owner changed directions. I could tell you story after story about my experience running that business for the owner. But I started to build some confidence in the fact that I had more experience than I'd given myself credit for. And I was starting to be able to tap into that, not just building my business, but when a business owner or professional wanted to hire me. So I definitely started to build some confidence there. And to start seeing myself as a knowledgeable business owner and as someone who understands the runnings of a business. I also realized that residential clients are very different than business owners and professional clients. And I say that with no judgment, but here was my experience. Residential clients often started our project with lots of gusto and excitement. And when we were on day 3 or day 4 of organizing a basement or a garage or a closet, they pretty quickly lost that new energy and excitement and realized this is more work for them than they realized. Because my strategy was, I'm not just going to come in and make this look pretty because a month from now it's going to be a mess again. I'm going to teach you how to have systems, how to make decisions, how to maintain, and how to live a more organized lifestyle. And not all of my clients actually were up for that investment of themselves and were not actually interested in making the changes that were needed. So a lot of my residential clients were like, so excited, very engaged, and then tanked pretty quickly. And that was hard for me because I wanted to see that I was making a lasting impact. I wanted to have their buy in. I wanted to be teaching them as well as helping them. My business clients, though, like there was a lot more on the line than a messy closet, right? Or a garage that, they can't park in. This was about their livelihood. This was about making their business as effective and efficient and profitable as possible so that they could keep their team members employed. They could put, the roof over the heads of their family members. They could make their dream of this business a success. And so I very quickly realized that working with the business owners and the professionals was my preference. For many years, I still worked with both when I lived in North Carolina because I also had to put food on the table, right? And there was a need. But every opportunity I had, I was reading about running businesses, and I was reading about systematizing a business, and I was reading about productivity from a business perspective. And so I did all sorts of self education. There is no degree, right, in my field. And I also, as I spent more time with business owners and professionals, I also realized that the fact that I did not have a corporate background was actually an asset. And some of you that have gone from one career to another have probably experienced this as well. So I realized that I actually brought a new, fresh perspective. Going into a law firm. No, I don't know how law firms typically were run, but I was able to give new ideas, and my thinking was a little bit outside of the box, which for some clients was exactly what they needed. So that again gave me kind of that confidence that I can work with business owners and professionals of all sorts, because the fact that I have a fresh perspective is often what they need and what they're looking for. So again, as we think about from like 2010 to when I moved back to Cincinnati, which was 2014, I really was starting to get to niche down and to realize that my ideal client is a professional, is a business owner, is an entrepreneur, is a high performer, is a type A like myself, might be creative. I've had plenty of clients that have a more creative mindset, who have ADD as a learning style, but that desired systems and structure for growth and profitability. And so when I moved to Cincinnati in 2014, I kind of redid the website and established myself as more of a productivity coach and professional organizer. Around the same time, our national association rebranded themselves, or I should call it a refresh. They became the National Association of Productivity. Oh gosh, I'm going to get it wrong. Judy, if you're still on, help me out. National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals. They still are NAPO, but they tied in that word productivity because they saw the direction that our industry was going in. And so I was very thrilled that productivity was a part of the National Association's name now. And that was really kind of how I was introducing myself. And I was shying away from saying I'm a professional organizer, because the first thought people have is, oh my gosh, my closet is a mess. Could you help me? Or, oh my gosh, my sister-in-law hired an organizer and her garage is beautiful, which is a great part of our profession, but it wasn't my identity any longer. And so, some of you that know me really well, I have told you I would start saying that I'm the owner of a business called Turn Leaf, and I was dropping the organizing. And regardless of how I spoke about my company or what my website spoke about, which never on my website did it mention residential organizing, I would still get inquiries about coming and doing home organizing. Or I would go do a presentation on creating a productive environment for your office. And I would talk about time management, space management, and information management. And afterwards, someone would come up and say, my 9 year old's bedroom is such a mess. What could I do about it? And I'm happy to answer that question, but it was like people were judging the book by its cover, right? And so, as you know, as I had more and more of those experiences, I realized I have outgrown this name. I don't connect to it anymore. I shy away from it a little bit, and I spend too much time explaining what I do. And so, that left me in a situation of, gosh, this has been my baby for 14 years. How, it rolls off my tongue. How would I change it? And it did take a little soul searching, to be honest, about I definitely was thinking about going the safe route and just becoming turn leaf, and leaving it at that and keeping the leaf and the logo and just get rid of organize. And then I had some good support and advice from friends and colleagues who said, if you're going to change it, right? Like, make it fit. Don't just go the easy safe route, but become who you are, right? Let your business really reflect who you are and where you're going. And so, peak productivity is a term I've been using for the last couple of years, and it just fits. I have the same butterflies in my stomach when I think about it as I did sitting there making my list of names for the first company. And it certainly is, to me, it's expansive. Um, so that is really kind of the story behind how things evolved. I am, you know, very much still identify with my industry. But what's really neat in our industry is there definitely are becoming more specific niches. And I'm also very excited about here in the Cincinnati area. There's a new group of individuals inside the umbrella of professional organizers and productivity experts, that we're starting to get together. So I now feel very confident when someone does reach out and say, can you organize my closet? I can send them to the right person, right? But I feel now that the name of my company is in alignment with who I serve and how I serve. And it was time. And I think what I want to leave you with here is, there is, if we're not growing, if things aren't changing, that's probably not a good sign, right? And so, as I go back to that, thinking about, agonizing over the name of my company back 14 years ago and thinking, this is it. This has to be perfect because this is the name of my company forever. Most decisions are not forever, right? Most things we get to change whenever we want, however we want. And so this was just a great example to me that, as long as I had clarity, people, clients, friends, colleagues are going to follow, right? They're going to support me with it. They're going to be excited about it. They're going to see the connection, and that you can always make changes. It's just having the right mindset around it. So I'm going to kind of save the mindset around it for my next training. But I will tell you that as soon as I decided, as soon as I stopped looking at this as, oh my gosh, this is going to be time intensive, this is going to be costly, this is going to take away energy that I could be spending on, marketing. And as soon as I changed my mindset and said, this is exciting, this is an opportunity, this is going to bring me new energy, it's going to put new eyeballs on my business, it's going to get me into new conversations. As soon as I just changed my perspective on what the experience was going to be like, it made the experience enjoyable. And so, I think the one lesson there that I'll share with you, and then I'll save the rest of my lessons for 2 weeks from now, is that a shift in perspective and a shift in mindset can make a pivot like this a great experience, or it can make it a miserable experience, but it's up to us, right? And that really is, I mean, if I go back to like the work that I'm doing, yeah, running a more organized business, a more productive company, it requires change, and you do have to do things differently, and sometimes you have to make changes, and sometimes you have to pivot. But that is the part of being a peak performer, is no matter what looks difficult, or no matter what seems like maybe a dangerous, not dangerous, but a risky change. Um, it's only risky if you think it's risky, right? And it's an opportunity if you see it as full of possibility. So it really embodies a lot of what I do with my clients, and that's what is so exciting for me, is when I can kind of walk the talk, and show that I too sometimes have barriers or obstacles, but that I find a way to get over them, and that's what I want to help my clients to do. So peak productivity is the current and the future of my business. It has not really changed what I'm doing, but it's given more focus and clarity. So I'm still coaching individually, I'm still speaking, and I'm still training. And those are the three ways that I get to share my knowledge, transfer some of my skills, and really make an impact on people's lives personally and professionally. And hopefully, through the Zoom window here, through the camera, you can see my excitement and my energy behind it. So thanks to all of you who have supported me along the way. A lot of you that I see in the comments right now have been significant in this journey and in this path. And I'm beyond grateful for all of you. And I'm also extremely grateful for this community, for trusting in me to be one of your resources and experts in all things productivity and organizing. And I look forward to new opportunities to work with some of you, collaborate with some of you, support some of you. And if any of you are considering, how do I rebrand, or how do I shift the persona of my business, or how do I introduce something new without confusing my audience, or without creating a bump in the road, let's chat. I would love to just talk you through my experience. Not that I know everything about it, but I can tell you what I do know about it, and support you in any way that I can. So that's the story of how Turnleaf Organizing came to be, and how I have now given rise to peak productivity. Thanks for your time and attention, and look forward to connecting with all of you in the rest of 2021. Definitely have a renewed sense of energy to finish out this year, make it one of the best for myself personally and professionally. And I hope I get to support some of you in your dreams and goals for 2021. So go make it a productive day. And I will look forward to seeing y'all back here in 2 weeks when I do a live on some of my key lessons, how to productively rebrand, refresh, and manage a project that's working on your business while you're still working in your business. So thank you all for being here. Patrick, Judy, Claire, I love all of you. And Steph, I'm so glad that you guys joined me this morning. And have a great one. Bye, everyone.